Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, this is Sarah Shazad. Welcome to CxO TV, where innovation meets ideas for growth via our knowledge sharing platform, CxO Global Forum. Joining us today, Ma'am Fajer Rabia, Executive Director of Pakistan Alliance for Girls Education and Secretary General at Hum Pakistan. Very good evening, ma'am. How are you today?
Thank you very much. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. First of all, please accept our special thanks to you because you have taken out your valuable time and be a part of our show today. Thank you very much for that. Appreciate it, ma'am.
No issue at all. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me here today.
You're most welcome. So, ma'am, we would like to know that who is Fajer Rabia, how you started this line of work, what was the motivation behind it?
You see, so it goes long way back, actually,
Yeah.
if we, and I like to share at times, I think, everyone has some kind of impact on themselves, which leads them to do whatever, they do in their lives. And, there's always an inspiration or motivation
Mhm.
to
Definitely.
for your work or interest as well. And so when I look back, I think my journey started back when I was around 14, 15. I was very young. I was a teenager. And
Right.
I was lucky enough to have great parents, amazing parents who
Must be.
sort of mentored me into this. My mother used to head a national trust back in those days. This I'm talking. Uh,
So
I
you
guess now.
have that confidence at home.
Yes, of course. Yes, yes, absolutely. I mean, I think I was exposed to all this at a very young age. I was
True.
engaged. So when I was 14, 15, when, kids would be hanging out with their friends, I
True.
would be volunteering, you see, and
True.
helping out with my mother, especially. And I saw, firsthand in terms of what impact we can create if we are working with people. Her work involved working with women from villages mainly who are engaged in
True.
cotton industry. So I had a lot of sort of opportunity to travel across Pakistan, see poverty firsthand, see what women in particular were going through as women, as working women in the villages. So every time, everything, being a woman is a challenge. When you're working,
True.
if
True.
you're working in a village, it adds more challenges because naturally you don't have that kind of education, you don't have that kind of access to opportunities or all sorts of things. So I saw a lot
Agree.
of lives being changed. So when I moved to UK, which was back in 2000, I naturally
Okay.
just got into it pretty much. I set up my first social enterprise when I was 18. This is back in 2002. And that also simply happened because I saw a lot of women there, Pakistani women, Bengali women, Muslim women, Somalian women who were there in big numbers, but who could not be seen in the mainstream, who were not in the mainstream at all, well,
Right.
because of multiple barriers. And that just sort of gave me, I just wanted to help out, really. That's what I wanted to do at that time. I wanted to see how we can support women so they can get education, they can learn English, so they can, engage in the mainstream. Otherwise, they were all living under poverty. Those families, thousands of families living under poverty. And this is
Exactly.
talking in England. So it all started from there, where my social enterprise, which started from one small room with two loaned computers, uh,
Right.
that just turned into one of, a really large social
That's how
enterprise.
you make success stories. That's how you start. You start from the scratch and you grow big.
Yes,
So,
so I never invested any money in anything. You see,
right.
if you look at it as a social enterprise startup, never invested any money. It all sort of kind of grew organically, and I think I grew with it
Probably you
organically.
have actually hit the main area of need. So
Yes.
it was there.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. It's identifying the niche as well. You see, with any businesses, for example, it's the same thing. You could be working as a social enterprise or as an enterprise, private or non-profit. It shouldn't matter. But it's all about identifying the need, and then your delivery, your implementation, your processes. Then everything obviously comes. The next step is to make sure your marketing, your branding, all of these things are done correctly, so you can then expand, you can grow, you can do more things, you can be more innovative around work, you can be
True.
more innovative around, the kind of things that you can do. One has to be, I guess, very
Hmm.
creative. I mean, I
Agree.
feel that, once you're in the flow, then it comes very naturally to people. So, and
Right.
I've seen people grow like this. So I think that's been an amazing experience for me.
That's
Somebody, being very young,
yeah.
yeah, and
True.
and being from being in England, but then being the minority in England. So that's also, it just adds to that experience in terms of how do you deal with things.
True.
So when I came to Pakistan, so it's like, I was a woman, and
Yeah.
that meant that I had to deal with things in a certain way. So
And people have this perception that women have problem in countries like Pakistan or neighbor countries, but
mm,
I believe that it's everywhere. That
oh,
women need support everywhere.
Absolutely, and I keep quoting this at forums that,
Hmm.
we talk about issues in Pakistan, and there are issues in Pakistan,
True.
but then who said there are no issues in Europe, in UK, in US?
Hmm.
These are, we just highlight them. We highlight our issues a bit too much.
True.
Maybe we get too negative about our problems. I was at a panel discussion the other day, and I had to tell them, and it was about inclusion, and I had to tell them how much problem we have in England still now when it
Exactly.
comes to
It's
inclusion,
very
diversity, and these countries are facing a lot of challenges as well because their own indigenous citizens do not accept migrant communities. So these problems, exist everywhere,
it's
but
everywhere.
we have to have more positive attitude in terms of trying to resolve, have a
True.
problem solving attitude rather than just criticizing. It's
Exactly.
easier to criticize, I suppose, than just to sit and actually do something about it.
Great, great. So, ma'am, what have been your participations in Hum Pakistan? Can you just give us the overview for our viewers?
Sure. Hum Pakistan is a platform that was initially set up under the Senate Special Committee on National Cohesion, and
Right.
basically works on bringing young people together from all sorts of different backgrounds, and it's mostly around bringing different young people from different cultures to come together and have an exchange of views, and to train together, to learn together, so they can bond together, because we came up with this idea because there was so much division between we start saying that these are Punjabis and these are Pashtuns and these are Balochis and these are Sindhis, and it's to try and see how we can reduce that division and celebrate diversity, but also understand that we're also Pakistanis and we're from one country. We're one nation. So that's what Hum Pakistan really does.
Right. So, any special strategies you are implementing to make it better?
To make it better, I think, it's what I find with young people. I think it's very easy. It's very there's no rocket science behind it. I think young people are very lost. They need vision,
True.
they need guidance, they need direction, and that's all one needs to do. Under Pakistan Alliance for Girls Education, for example, we run multiple programs around career counseling and mentoring for girls coming from very deprived backgrounds who otherwise wouldn't have that sort of kind of understanding and knowledge. And what we see is that they want to be something in their lives, but
Hmm.
they have no
True.
they have no guidance at all, nothing at all. So they have no information on what kind of careers are out there. And these are the sort of girls who have no access to internet, who can't
True.
have access, they have no access to smartphones and laptops or tabs, etc. So
Very
they have very limited information they have. So it's just very simple things that you can do that can create really big impact. That's what we try to do with Hum Pakistan.
Yeah. So, what is the success rate? I mean, I believe that there must be some cases where it can go wrong because the sudden exposure can lead to something which is not which is negative. So, what do you have to say about that?
No, I mean, I don't know. I think if it's planned properly, if it's
Okay.
moderated properly, then I mean, we've never had any issues and any problems, and all we've had is a huge amount of success with young people coming from very different and very diverse backgrounds coming together, and but being, and even if they generally, what we have is 3 days workshops that we do under Hum Pakistan,
Right.
and those workshops lead on to very different, sort of perception of young people that changes over the 3 days. So that it's all, planned in that sense, in the way, so they can meet each other, they can explore opportunities, they can explore Pakistan, they can understand the kind of challenges, strategic challenges Pakistan is facing. They can also
True.
bond together and sort of really just, get to know each other really.
Yeah,
So I really
true,
understanding
true.
that there's nothing negative about
Right.
anyone at all, and we're all the same at the end of the day, human
And
beings.
especially, I would like to add that under your guidance and your mentorship towards them, because you have started it so early, so it cannot go wrong. That I'm sure of.
Yeah, so I let me just be clear. So what I started in England was a different organization. It was called
Right.
Inspire. In Pakistan, I'm heading Pakistan Alliance for Girls Education, which is my
True.
main focus of work, which pretty much takes up all my time. And then Hum Pakistan, which is sort of a very an initiative very close to my heart, because
Right.
it's really addressing that core issue in Pakistan, where we see a lot of division, we see a lot of problems because based on religion, based on ethnicity, and these really needs to be addressed if we want Pakistan to progress and grow. And like you've seen on the very unfortunate incident that took place yesterday, that shows that how much work needs to be done to build that tolerance and acceptability
True.
between each other, and really just understand um, law, and basic things, basically. I mean, it's nothing no, it's not rocket science, but I
Hmm.
just really believe that we really need to introduce these learnings into our young people, because we are
True.
lacking them in our education system, and we're also lacking them in our homes now as well. So that,
Exactly. That's very
yeah, so
right.
it
Very
has to be
right.
on that side.
And
Yeah.
there is a war between like this generation and the previous one. That's another aspect of it also, that one has to actually fight for their rights. If they come to know about their rights, they have to actually fight at home. So it's a gap, but I believe that our youth is more mature, and they are actually delivering in a very subtle way.
No, no, absolutely. I think our young people are very bright. They're very wise. They understand the problems and challenges Pakistan is facing. And if they have been through a good education system, especially, then they know that where our elders have made mistakes, where are the gaps, what can be done, and I think that's a good thing, that and I think grown-ups, for example, if my children are very different from me, and I
Right.
accept that. You see, I accept that. That's sort of part of our growth. As human beings, every generation is going to be different, and every generation will have its own understanding of things and problems and how to resolve those problems as well. So as grown-ups, as adults, as parents, as community leaders, I think we must give our young people that space to
Hmm.
make their decisions, informed decisions. I think that's where education part is very important. That they're informed and they make those choices based off on
Right.
correct information.
Right, right. So, ma'am, let's talk about Page for our viewers to, if you just elaborate a bit that how it's working for the social reforms, especially for girls.
Okay, so Page basically focuses on girls' education, but then girls' education as a tool to bring that change in the society.
Right.
We believe that educated girls is educating a girl is one of the best investment Pakistan can make,
True,
given the
true.
current crisis we have. I was just having this conversation with somebody yesterday, and they were we were talking about, for example, the legal age for marriage in Pakistan for girls, and they were of the opinion that leave the girl legal age to be 16. Why have it 18? And it's better that girls are just married off because there are no schools for them. So it's better that they go, they're not, they're at least they're in a different home, and they're in a relationship, and it's more safer and
Yeah,
secure.
exactly.
uh, but but what we don't understand is that a girl who is so young and is married off, then she's not really ready for a marriage. Marriage is a complex relationship.
True,
uh,
true.
you have to be, you have to understand how to deal with them. You're not ready to have children because your body's too young. You're not ready.
True,
Malnutrition is a huge problem in Pakistan. So
true,
majority of women, you'll find they are
absolutely.
they're malnutrition. So when they have children, they're also malnutrition as well. The children when they're born, and hence
Hmm.
child mortality rate in Pakistan is very high. You know, so
Right.
what we need to understand is that we rather, instead of we need to work on the laws. We need to make sure that
Hmm.
legal age marriage, for example, is 18, but then at the same time make sure girls have access to education so they can complete their education. So it shouldn't
Hmm.
be. I mean, we're trying to promote girls as leaders of tomorrow. We want our girls to grow up. We want our girls to achieve their dreams, whatever they dream of. They may not want to work, for example, and that's fine. They may want to just get married and be at home. That's fine. But if they want to be something, if they want to be a doctor or a scientist or a pilot or whatever, or an entrepreneur, then they should have that opportunity to do so. And we need to be, as a society, we need to be
Hmm.
able to do so. And our government of Pakistan, all the federal and provincial governments need to be able to facilitate that process for a girl.
Hmm.
Because when a girl is educated, we're talking about domestic violence. We're talking about girls should know their basic constitutional rights. We're talking about a girl should know her basic religious rights. We're talking
Hmm.
about decreasing sexual abuse. We're talking
Hmm.
about so many things. It just all links together with girls' education, and has a huge impact. And of course, it has an economic impact as well. Women are almost 50%
True,
of the
true.
population in Pakistan, and you hardly have 20 to 30% women who are
Hmm.
economically active. You see, so that rate needs to increase. The female literacy rate needs to increase, and if you
True.
look at the stats and figure, you'll see that the female literacy rate has been stagnant for the
True.
last 10 years almost. That hasn't improved. And so that just sort of indicates a lot of problems that we still, even in the last decade or so, we haven't been able to invest properly in women's education and
True.
girls
True.
education, giving them the skill sets, giving them access to education,
Exactly.
giving them access to career opportunities.
Hmm.
It's a typical problem that we have, that you wouldn't believe that we have this in England as well, that at times when girls do have access to education, they never uh, move into a career path. A very small percentage from
Hmm.
universities, for example, would move into a career path. You may know that sometime back there was a lot of hoo-ha around women becoming doctors, learning to become doctors, then never
Hmm.
practicing. Huge number never practice. So that
Yeah.
mindset needs to change, where girls are getting access to education, then they also should be able to access career
Yeah.
opportunities. And
Work, of course. Of course.
of course, every a girl is as much a human being as a man is.
They are the major part in the society. So if that is untapped, so of course you are losing the major share
Of course,
of
yeah,
the society.
absolutely, absolutely. And women are innovative, and they need to be in leadership roles.
True.
Women are naturally very good at
Totally
problem
agree.
solving. Yeah, and lots of different things, I think.
Right. So, ma'am, you know that we are evolving with the technology. So, what is your point of view on girls' digital education? I mean, what is your take on that?
Look, the thing is, I think Pakistan needs to have global citizens. And when we talk about global citizens, that's both boys and girls. What needs to happen is that maybe increasing access to digital education, increasing access to internet. We still have a lot of problem with infrastructure across the country. You may not feel these issues in Lahore, Islamabad, Karachi, but if we just, as soon as you start traveling in the outskirts, you go into the rural areas, we find that there's a real problem with infrastructure, internet infrastructure. changing that culture and mindset that it's okay for women to go online and work. That's a huge problem. A lot of families still do not allow girls
Exactly.
to go online because they think कि लड़कियां खराब हो जाएंगी, लड़कियां
बिल्कुल।
कंट्रोल से बाहर निकल जाएंगी. ये बहुत टिपिकल एक माइंडसेट है. तो वो
Hmm.
naturally देखिए, like I said before, every girl should have the right to achieve her dreams and whatever that may be. If she wants to be digitally active and
Hmm.
make use of that in a positive manner, work, generate income, then why not? What's wrong with that? Freelancing and everything. We know there are huge global opportunities available at the
Right.
moment, and you can do so much. You can do really good financially if you know what you're doing, and you know your market really, and you have the skill set to engage and market yourself, market your skill sets. Content writing for being one, which is probably one of the simplest things to do, is
Exactly.
majorly in demand at the moment. And there's so many. I mean, there's like hundreds of things and hundreds of sectors and job types you can tap into now through
True.
commerce and social media. And
Hmm.
lots of things. I think there are multiple opportunities everywhere, and we need to be able to tap into them.
Right, right. So, are you guys doing something, some collaborative work, or any projects which you have worked on, for girls' education, or internationally? Are you aligned, or any plans you have for future?
Yeah, we have multiple projects going on, and we collaborate with multiple organizations, including the government of Pakistan. We did a lot of work with Federal Ministry of Education. We then work in about 56 districts across Pakistan at the moment, where we run our non-formal education program, which has especially been designed for girls at primary level, and now we're working for the secondary level, where we've got about 130 star
Hmm.
schools running across
Right.
Pakistan. Then we have many international collaborations with different organizations where we're running multiple different programs in different schools in different regions. We have a lot of focus on KP, Balochistan, Interior Sindh, where we see the stats are the worst when it comes to gender parity, girls' education, or the
Exactly. That's
government youth, for example. So we're working with the Council of Islamic Ideology at the moment on engaging with ulamas across Pakistan from all sects, so they can
right.
promote girls' education as them being one of the leaders and generally seen in a very negative manner. So
Hmm.
we're working with them to try and improve that. So we're working on various different things. We work on policy advocacy programs, resource mobilization. We work with multiple donors to make sure that we can
Right.
bring as much money into girls' education in Pakistan. Increasing investment in girls' education is something that's it's one of our mandate, and we do that, and we do the same with the government of Pakistan. That when we have education budgets being sort of worked up, then more money needs to be more money needs to go to education, girls schools, for example, female teachers, lots of
Right.
things that needs to happen across
Right.
Pakistan, not just by the federal government, but by the provincial governments as well.
Exactly. Great work, ma'am. Great work. I mean, we need more people to come in the same line of work and think for our women, because I believe that in if we go on remote areas, still it's a lot of gap to
Yeah.
match. Lot of gap to match. So since it's a difficult task for a woman to do something out of the box in our, especially in our society, so I would like to know some of challenges that you might have faced in your journey.
I think I think being young is one big challenge. When I started back then, when I was 18 when I started in England. But I think, I've been very lucky, to be honest, because my work expanded very quickly in England as well. And
Right.
people could see the impact. Because I think, what tends to happen is that women really have to prove themselves, especially if
Hmm.
they're young. In England, I had this problem that you come from a different minority. You come from a minority, you're a woman, you're a girl. very young,
Yeah.
and I'd actually migrated from Pakistan to England. So it wasn't like that I was British born. So so a lot of things went against me in that sense, in England as well. But I think Alhamdulillah, just within a couple of months, because it just grew so quickly because there was a need for it, that I didn't have to work hard in terms of proving what I was doing was right and was needed. So I think that's something that helped me really well. And Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, I was recognized at many forums in England, multiple forums again and again and again. If I'd stayed back, I think I would have. I was nominated for my Queen's Award there back then, but I'd moved to Pakistan, so I just left that. So a lot of things by the time I came to Pakistan, I was so mature in terms of work wise and so senior in my work, that I did not have much of a problem being a woman. The more problem I had was with the work culture. You see, because in England,
True.
we're so used to of supporting each other. There's a whole environment of supporting each other without
True.
expecting a benefit back, connecting people, pushing them forward, or connecting people to different opportunities. And here in Pakistan, unfortunately, you have this whole environment of leg pulling, constant leg
So
pulling.
you must
People,
have faced a lot of heat, like when you came back and trying to implementing things here in Pakistan. So you must have faced a lot of heat.
um, well, I think very little support, definitely, at the time when I started. A lot of people thought I've come from England, so I can just take them to England with me. So,
True.
so there's a lot of there were all those kind of problems that I went through initially, and I was like, I'm here to stay. I'm not, and I never tried to say that what we were doing in England could be just
Mm.
replicated in Pakistan. So
Right.
and that's because of my experience of working as a teenager in Pakistan. So I had really good understanding of Pakistan culture, environment, the challenges women especially was facing in Pakistan. So that really helped me when I moved back, even though I'd never really independently worked in Pakistan. So it was my first time. But
Right.
I think Alhamdulillah, when I was moving, my friends would say that you could hardly maybe maximum survive a year in Pakistan, and then you'll be back because Pakistan work culture is so difficult and people are not sincere and not truthful, and this happens and that happens.
Mm.
There's a lot of bad image we
Mm.
have in the global community, unfortunately, and so I have survived. I moved here in 2013, and it's 2021 right now. We're ending 2021, so I
Yeah.
think I've done very well in that regard. That you managed to break through, and understand that two different countries can have two different cultures. That's what it's like. So you could go to US would have completely different culture than England, or you go to Europe is completely different to England.
True.
So it would be wrong to say that I could come here and start complaining in terms of how things work here and how things work
Mm.
there, or if that's better and this is not better, because
True.
everywhere it's different, and one has to understand that culture and adapt to that culture as well and learn. Sort of. So I think that's something very important, and a message to a lot of people as well, that who keep complaining about Pakistan being very very
True.
negative place, and it has its own culture. It
True.
has its own way of doing things, and that's fine. I think and some things need changing, but they'll change with time, with education, with more people getting exposure to global opportunities, etc., and global work culture. Things will change organically as
True.
well, but we have to give that time. We have to give it time,
Right.
and things going to
Right.
happen in Pakistan overnight as well.
That's very true. And change comes within. So it doesn't matter geographically where you are,
Yes.
whether in Pakistan or abroad, that change comes within. You have to change your mindset and your approach towards positivity and all. So, for our viewers, I would like to ask you that where is your presence? This Hum Pakistan, the platform, and where is it like in Islamabad, Lahore, Karachi? It's nationwide, or it's
So, yeah, most of activity takes place in Islamabad, but it's about bringing young people from different regions together to Islamabad, and
okay?
then giving them exposure to the parliament, to the Senate.
Right.
taking them to fun places so they can see, they can connect, they can understand, they can especially meet with policymakers, parliamentarians, senators, people who matter really. So they can question them, they can ask them, they can bond with them as well and understand the challenges we have on the top. Then how do you sort of connect those with the challenges that we have in on ground. So most of Hum Pakistan work is here. However, page work is spread in 56 districts across Pakistan. We have a presence. We have a presence in every province, and
Wonderful.
in some of the most rural areas, some of the most remote areas like Thar, Mirpur Khas, Thatta, and Sindh, in Balochistan, in the outskirts of Quetta, then in KP, in Gilgit, in AJK, again, so in some of the most remote areas in those places as well, and in urban areas as well, like Lahore, Peshawar, Karachi slums, Islamabad slums. Many. We've got about 38 schools just in Islamabad alone, and other projects going on as well. So many different things going on. Yeah.
Wonderful, ma'am. It's I feel very happy about it that we do have such uh, departments who are working very keenly towards this area of our country. So, lastly, I would like to ask that what utility you see being a member of CXO Global Forum, how it adds value to your professional life.
Well, I think it can add value in terms of networking. I think that's something that we would look for. Obviously, we want to see how corporate sector can support us, and how we can connect. We can put our message across. One of our mandate is to obviously promote the importance of girls' education and the challenges we have, the importance of female leadership in the companies, which is also very sort of lacking within majority of the companies in Pakistan. We're starting to see change, but a lot of work has to be done. We see a lot of women working in the corporate sector in the cities, but we don't
Right.
see many women climbing up to the to that leadership level. And that sort of work that I think that can be done through CXO. We can use that platform to do that, and try and I guess make companies understand um,
Mm.
what being a woman, it's very
True.
different. um, for example, for a man working 9 to 5 may be fine. For them that should be
True.
okay, but why does it have to be for a woman? Why can't that be different? Because a female in our society in Pakistan, for example, is also a mother, and she's the prime caretaker of children. So if that's the
Different
case,
roles.
then
It's been
how does
different roles. Yeah.
yeah, so how can we, we don't, I think we need to get out of that mindset that women have, we need to understand that these are two different genders. There's no two thing about it. But then
Mm.
also understand that each gender has its own role and has the demands that we have got right now in Pakistan. When I come back home from work, whatever time I come back, I'm a full-time mother, right?
Right.
And that's not going to change. I will not,
True.
I'm there. And that's a natural thing. It's not something that's forced upon me, because
True.
that's what you like when you're a mother, right? So
Exactly.
I think, that's where things needs to change. So on my end, for example, in my own office, I try and keep things very flexible for my team members, especially female team members. So if they're working from home, then that's fine. It's because it's more outcome related, their own workloads, rather than being in office 9 to 5 and not performing. I rather have very sort of a workforce, a team that is performing 100%, but at their own times. That I think that my mentality needs to change. There should be no competition between being a woman and a man. There should be and women should have equal opportunity to showcase
True.
her intelligence, to showcase her work, her skill set, and achieve her dreams. I keep talking about achieving a woman's dream is
Right.
as important. And every single woman has her own dream, and she wants to do her own
True.
dream, and she needs to have that support, and should be facilitated to do that.
A wonderful message, ma'am, to our viewers and especially the members of this forum also, because there's a lot of women who are working in corporate sector, and of course they have different roles to play. They are mother, they are caretaker, they have a family in the house, and a lot of other work. I mean, in our society, so wonderful message towards everybody. Thank you very much, ma'am, for your time. I know you are a highly committed person doing so much for the betterment of Pakistan and its culture, but we will still, inshallah, invite you to one of our another show. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Bye
Thank
bye.
you.
This.
Bye bye.